Hi guys, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I got a post here by Hedera, and I think you're going to see this because this is going to be big for the future. So it says, Hedera joined industry leaders as a founding member of ADR.org's Legal Context Protocol. So there's an article here that goes into a bit more detail. So it says here, US arbitration giant rolls out legal layer for agentic commerce. So the company in question here is AAA. So it says here as the subheading, as agentic AI transactions increase, we need to know there's a clear answer to what happens if something goes wrong, said Mance Harmon, co-founder of Hedera. Okay, cool. So let's get into what this basically is then. So what's going on here is, obviously, as we know, agentic AI, it's going to be a big deal, right? Like this is something that's going to be massive, and this is why I'm sharing this with you guys, because as agentic AI gets a lot bigger, there's certain things that we need to know. There's precautions that we need to be taking, right? Because as we know with AI, it's good, but it's not perfect yet, right? So there's going to be mistakes and things like that can happen along the way. And this is about trying to make sure that obviously there's kind of like a rule book in place, so to speak, right? So it's about trying to make it transparent and fair and just making sure that these agents are doing the right thing and what happens if they mess up. So I'll give you just a quick breakdown of what this basically means. Okay, so this is the problem that it solves. So traditional e-commerce relies on human-facing mechanisms like click-through agreements and terms of service. These just don't work well when AI agents transact with each other at high speed and scale. LCP makes legal terms, consent, and dispute resolution discoverable and verifiable before and after transactions. Okay, and how it works. It complements, but doesn't require, blockchain and existing payments/identity protocols, e.g. X402 Machine Payments Protocol. It clarifies what was agreed, under what law, and how disputes are resolved. Yeah, that's great. That really is, because as I say, the projection for agentic AI in the next 2 years has absolutely skyrocketed. So this is something that they're really predicting is going to be like really big for crypto and just AI in general, of course. So you got to think, if you've got like these agents buying and selling things, like, imagine how big this could increase utility for a network. So, whatever you was thinking about, for example, like a human activity on Hedera or, other networks too, imagine how much more it can be when you've then got actual AI agents using the network too, right? Imagine how much that can increase the usage of a network, because now it's not just human interaction anymore. We're talking about robotic agentic AI transactions as well. And obviously with agentic AI, it's not involving any type of human interaction whatsoever. So you can increase like everything like tenfold, like just imagine how much that can increase. It's going to be ridiculous. And so obviously the question about it is, what's going to be keeping this in place to make sure everything's being done right and making sure it's being done by the book, basically. And so what they're creating here is basically like a rule book. It's like, this is what you're supposed to do. These are the laws and the rules that you're supposed to follow. And this is what you're supposed to do if something goes wrong. And so they've got this rule book that they can follow. And again, if something goes wrong, they know what they can do. They can refer to this rule book. They know what needs to be done. For me, when you think about these, these agentic AI agents running around on these networks, as much as obviously I like the sound of this because it's going to add unfathomable amounts of utility to these networks, I do still think like, okay, like we've got to make sure that this doesn't go wrong though, right? Because if all these agentic AI agents start going rogue or they're doing things completely wrong, how many like catastrophes could that cause? Like how many issues could that create? So don't get me wrong, we want it to happen, but we want it to work as well, right? We don't want it to just be a thing where you want it to happen so much that you just put it in, rush it in. It's not properly implemented and it's not doing the right things, and it just, causes problems. Because that couldn't get them to just ditch it altogether. They feel like, well, we've left it to its own devices and look what's happened. Like that's going to make it so they don't feel like it's trustworthy. So obviously you want it to be done in the right way. So this is something where, them making this and, Hedera going on one of the advisors towards actually helping this to be created. Yeah, of course, this is going to be great. And again, they're going to try and make this from the perspective of, obviously, they have a network. So maybe this is one of these things where they could trial and test certain things on their network to show you like, okay, like this is how it's working. Like we're following these rules, we're implementing these, these tweaks into the algorithm or whatever to make sure that it's following the right stuff and whatnot. And they could trial it on Hedera. You know what I mean? So it's one of these things where this could be greatly beneficial, and it could be that Hedera is one of like the first networks that has this kind of thing implemented. I definitely think it's a good thing to be thinking about this, because while I do like AI, as I said earlier, you do want it to be safe, right? Of course. So, you know, like from an institutional perspective, again, yes, they want these types of technologies that are going to help them, but they want them to work, right? They don't want it to be a thing where it's causing more problems than actual you know, results. So at the end of the day, if they was to implement this and it just went horribly wrong, the banks and the institutions are not going to touch it, right? Because it's like, okay, yeah, great, this could save us some money, and it could be a lot faster and whatnot. But if it's like, yeah, but it can go horribly wrong, like that could cause them more problems afterwards, right? So it could be like, okay, we've saved some money in terms of, you know, the amount of transactions we're doing and stuff, and we're not having to, you know, have people monitoring these transactions and stuff. But then we've just got this massive fine because we did something wrong, because something went completely wrong. So we've had to accept responsibility for that. So then that's cost us, you know, that's wiped out whatever benefit we once had has been wiped out by that fine, you know. So obviously they've got to try and make sure they're doing this in the correct way. So yeah, I think this is great because, as I say, agentic AI is going to be something massive. So especially if like Hedera is going to be one of the players involved in this, which I think they will. Hedera's definitely got the network to scale for this. This is where like the 10,000 TPS is, you know, definitely going to be a huge factor for Hedera to be one of the networks that would be chosen for this type of use case. And this is actually a great utility for any network, because that's going to hugely bring up the volume. So that could be absolutely massive. So I think that's a big thing, and I definitely want them to do it the right way, because again, you know, you don't want that to be impacting the network's reputation as well, right? Because it's one of those things where, even though it might not be the network's fault, it's just, if it's associated with that network, it's just that kind of thing, right? Like you're just associated with it in the wrong way. You just got that stigma. So it could be that it could, you know, bring negative attention in the wrong way. So you want it to be done right, basically. So I'm all for this, and I think it just shows you that they are preparing for this future, which it is going to be massive. It's going to be absolutely huge. So I think it's the best thing to do. So this could be something that could be a great benefit to Hedera in the long term. And it shows you that, you know, Hedera is going to be in a good position for this use case, which I think is going to bring a lot of activity to the network. So very positive there. Okay, I'll leave it there. If you did like this, please remember to like, comment and subscribe so you can be updated for future HBAR content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be alerted on when I do drop a new video. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one.